What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back. Today I've got 4 Neca 7-inch turtles to unbox and review for you kind folks. Now, I'm pretty excited, if you can't tell on my face, because these turtles are insanely good. Like, the quality on them is mind-blowing. So I don't want to spoil the video. Let's get into it for sure. But I also wanted to say a really quick thank you to everybody in my community. The Ben Thomas Show just hit 500 subscribers plus, which is a huge milestone for my channel. And I chalk it up entirely to you folks, the community, my fellow YouTubers who help support me. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot, and it's honestly driving me to want to do more, review more, get out there and do more toy hunts and more fun things for the channel. But if you guys like this video, make sure you hit the like button. If you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Let's try and get to 1,000 if we can, and let's jump into it.
Heroes in a half shell, turtle power.
So these are the 7-inch Neca Ninja Turtles that I mentioned in the introduction. And, you know, it's interesting. It's very often not the case that I want to keep a figure in the box. But when I got these 4 guys home and I set them just up on my shelf while I kind of prepped for the video, and I got to see this kind of box art on the side and on the front, damn, was I honestly really tempted to keep these guys in the box. But I must say, I'm actually really happy that I didn't. Even though this design just absolutely screams the original movie to me, I think Neca did a really good job with that. I want to start in with Raphael, because Raphael is easily one of my favorite turtles, you know, of all time. I mean, there's only 4 turtles, let's be honest, but he was up there with my favorite. And in this film specifically, you know, Raph had, I think, one of the best storylines. You know, he had a hard time with his brothers, right? He wanted to get out and actually be more of a person as opposed to just a turtle living in the sewers. And we got a chance to see his journey, and it nearly gets him killed. And I loved that story. I think the original film for these guys was amazing. And these figures do not disappoint. Look at the accessories that this guy comes with. It's not a ton, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's got his size. He's got an extra headband, which goes the opposite direction, which is cool. A slice of pizza and a couple of hands. But getting him out of the box and getting him under some lighting here, all of a sudden, the paint applications just absolutely pop. And the expression on his face, like even from the side there, look amazing. Look at the design in the turtle shell as well. Now, later in the video, I've got an old school Ninja Turtle, one of my original turtles, that I'm going to pair up next to Donatello. So stick around for the Donatello segment. But it just makes these guys look night and day over what the original turtle toys looked like. This doesn't look like a toy to me. This looks like a shrink ray version of the turtle from the film. Now, the articulation here is pretty solid. He obviously raises his arms. I found the joints to be a little bit stiff, and where it bends at the elbow there, because of the padding on the joint, you don't get a ton of range of movement there. But to be honest with you, I don't really feel like it's going to affect the posing. You just got to be a little bit careful that you don't push it too far, because there's always that risk that you're going to break something, right? The head obviously tilts no problem. There's really no bend at the waist because of his shell. You get the bend in the joints in terms of his knees. He has some articulation at the foot, which is really cool. Honestly, pretty standard articulation overall. Now, I did also notice he actually has a peg hole in the bottom of his feet, which is cool, because if you have kind of one of those circular bases where you can slot him onto, it'll help his stability. Although I didn't really find with these turtles that there's really any trouble with them standing on their own terms. You just kind of have to futz with it a little bit. And I like them because even though they're super realistic, they're also still really posable. Now, these size are really cool. You can see that they slot into the holsters on his belt, which look amazing. And the hands that come with the figure have absolutely no problem gripping onto the size. Now the cool thing is if you get all 4 turtles, the hands actually do interchange with each other. The paint applications are extremely similar. So, if you like a hand that comes with Michelangelo for Raphael, you can swap it out. They come with pretty small pegs. Now I actually did break a peg pulling one of the hands out of the socket, but I was actually able to repair it pretty quickly. It didn't take too much futzing, but just be careful. I didn't take my own advice. I didn't use a hairdryer to warm up the joints, and boom, as you can see, that caused a bit of a crack. Well, you can't see it, but I'm telling you it did. So these poses though, I had a great time with Raphael specifically. But let's get into Donatello, because again, I wanted to show you my old school turtle with Donatello as well as this new Neca new school option. Now I apologize, my light post for my light got a little in the view here. What can you do? I'm still new to YouTube, right? But this package did get a little damaged, unfortunately, at the store. Because these guys are now out of production, it means that Neca's not making them anymore. So if you happen to find a turtle at one of your local shops and you're considering it but you're on the fence, honestly I would recommend them. I think for the price point, they're excellent. And once they're gone, they're going to be much harder to find for the community. So just keep that in mind, not to create FOMO by any stretch. Now this guy, of course, he comes with the extra headband, he comes with the pizza, he comes with a couple extra hands, and of course his iconic staff. Now the staff was pretty fun to play with, I will give it that. The posability on Donatello is virtually identical to Raphael, but I'll show you guys kind of what he looks like at all sides. Again, I gotta say, the paint application on these turtles is insane. Like, you can see the different coloration around his musculature, which is really, really cool. And I find that Neca did a really, really good job of hiding the joints, especially with the elbow pads and the knee pads like that. Man, do they ever kind of just quickly disappear. And I mean, when you're thinking back to the original Turtles movies, these were actors in costumes, right? So they already had some unique lines on them anyways, but I think that Neca really, really captured the magic of those original suits. Now, you can see that the staff slots in to Donatello on the backside here. These came pre-tied, and they slide in, slide out pretty easily. But I will say that as happy as I am with the staff here, be really careful when you guys are slotting them in and out like this, because these ties are very softly knotted. And so after this video, I was just playing with the turtle, having some fun posing him, and they came untied. And I can tell you this, there is not very much slack to be able to tie that again. I got fat freaking fingers, dude, and I can tell you right now that I was cursing at this guy trying to get those knots tied back up so I could slot the staff back in. So just be really, really careful. Don't pull a Ben and don't untie them by accident, because it's a pain in the ass. But the poses are truly up to your imagination, right? I think you can really pull off a lot with these guys. Now look at this comparison though. This is my old school Donatello. Now, previous to this video, this was my best Ninja Turtle. This guy was kind of an upgrade from the original Turtles, toy lines, right? He had kind of a rubbery skin, better paint application, some posability there. Nothing in comparison. Look at the shell difference. Look at the skin painting. It's amazing. I mean, my little guy here kind of looks like he's got some weird freaky skin disease with all those spots in comparison to my new Donatello. I am blown away by how good the new guy looks. Now I apologize because my photos got a little overexposed in the editing process, but you can definitely get a sense for what you can do with these guys. Now let's take a better look at Michelangelo next. I know Michelangelo for a lot of people is kind of their number one guy, right? You're my number one guy, Michelangelo. And he's fun. This is a fun character. Now, I'm a little upset because my Michelangelo has ever so slightly a paint defect on the mouth, and you may see that a little bit closer up, kind of right in there. But you know what? Honestly, I feel like if you're not a perfectionist like me, you probably won't notice it. For some people, it might drive you bonkers. But I might reach out to my buddy Zach over at Collecting Weekly to see what I can do to touch that up a little bit. Otherwise, one of the things that I really like about this specific Michelangelo is the facial expression. He looks like he's having a good time, as Michelangelo should, let's be honest. And he comes with some really cool hands, including some thumbs up hands, which for Michelangelo, holding a slice of pizza, giving you the thumbs up, I mean, you can't beat that in terms of a pose for Mikey. And I always have a really hard time trying to decide what was my favorite turtle of the four, because to be honest, they all had things that I liked about them, right? I loved that Michelangelo was all about having fun and partying and pizza and goofy, and you could make people laugh, you know? I liked that Donatello was more of a computer science guy and a little bit more nerdy, and I liked the edginess of Raph. I also really liked the leadership of Leonardo. Now, this is the pose I was talking about. Giving a thumbs up, holding a slice of pizza. I mean, he looks like he's having a really good time. The nunchucks that he comes with are also really cool. They're on a pretty posable wire. So you can slot them into his belt, similar to how Raph had his, or you can actually pull those out and put them in his hands and create more of a dynamic looking pose. Again, coming with the two hand sculpts here though, you could give one of the other turtles, if you want, a thumbs up pose. You could have multiple guys giving thumbs up or whatever, right? I think it's cool that you can kind of transfer them in between. This is what I was talking about with the dynamic pose with the nunchucks themselves. Because of the posable wire, you can make them actually look like they're in a swinging action, which I really appreciate. Be careful with it though, because I could see that wire breaking over time, so just be a little careful. Now, as you can see, the packaging for Leonardo is very similar to the rest of them. Feel free to pause the video, by the way, at any point when I show the description on the back, because it does give you kind of a brief description of the turtle and kind of, you know, his story, right? And so if you want to read that, feel free to pause the video when I show those boxes there. I didn't want to read it out to you and dry everybody's attention out. But the Leonardo here is also just amazing. I honestly can't say enough good things about these guys. The paint application's a little strange on this turtle specifically though, where his shell kind of meets that front piece. It's a little dark and dirty in the lines, but I honestly think I think it was like on purpose. I think it was a wash that they actually chose to do. It's just that under some pictures, under some editing, it looks a little on the dark side. But it's like such a small nitpick, like I don't even care at all. I honestly think the expression on the face of Leonardo here is phenomenal. I love that he comes with his two swords that slot into the holsters on the back. They don't sit completely flush in the holster, but from the front you cannot tell. And because it's a toy, they're not too sharp. So I don't think there's much of a poking hazard there, unless you're being kind of silly. You know, careful around your eyes maybe, but that's about it. I honestly don't think you're going to prick yourself. You're going to be fine. But look at the detail even on the holsters and on the handles. The grips on the swords look really good. Again, I like that you can have some posability or range of movement with all of the turtles. And ultimately, I kind of had a hard time finding a pose that I actually really wanted to use, because every time I changed the pose, I liked it even more. And so it got to this point where I was like, okay, I just want to find one pose for all my turtles that are going to look good together. I don't think that's possible. These are meant to have some fun with, but they also look really good in the display. Just depends on how you tilt the head, how you adjust the arms, where on the grips, you know, you're holding the swords or the nunchucks, right? I try to keep it as accurate as possible for what I think, you know, like a character in the film would do. But you can have some fun with it, right? There's nothing to say that, you know, Michelangelo can't steal a sword from Leonardo at some point and have a bit of a duel, or, you know, maybe get some dynamic waist grabbers and have some aerial acrobatics for the turtles, because I mean they are jumping around constantly as well, right? Not necessarily in the movie, but definitely in the cartoon. But yeah, I'm really digging these guys. As you can obviously tell, I have almost nothing negative to say about them. To be honest with you, I've wanted the quarter scale turtles for quite some time. But after seeing how good the 7-inch turtles are and how I was able to kind of fit them into my collection without creating a custom space, I almost think that the quarter scale turtles are a little overkill. These are amazing. Now, these are some of the extra hands that they come with. As you can see, some of the extra headbands, and you can see that the pizza slices are a little bit different. They're pretty close, but two of them are the same, two of them are different, but it does give kind of a realistic looking pizza. It would have been cool to have maybe an extra pizza, like a full pizza maybe, to be able to toss around with Mikey. But again, very small nitpicks, and for I think the price point of these, at least at retail, what you get here is certainly sufficient. Now, getting all the turtles together, I think, is where the collection here for me really comes to life. Because you can see that in all the different facial expressions these guys come with, they all look very different, and they all really expose the character within. And I think that that's really, really well done. I think they look really, really cool together. We know each turtle's personality is vastly different, and the fact that Neca, in terms of their 7-inch toy line, can bring that personality out so well in such a small scale is epic. I will give them that. Bravo, Neca, for this line. I think it's fantastic. Now, do I still want to see a 6-scale version of the turtles? Oh, 100%. 100%. Especially if they are this detailed. But I gotta say, whoever creates a 6-scale version down the line, crossed fingers, maybe a 3-0, maybe one of those other lines, they honestly have a pretty big shoe to fill. Like, these guys are really good. And the quarter scale are also fantastic. So for anybody who's collecting quarter scale, don't let me take anything away from you. I think that they are amazing. But again, because these guys are so detailed at such a small size, they don't take up a huge chunk of real estate in my collection. For me, the quarter scale was just too big. I just couldn't justify it. And this is what I was talking about earlier about potentially pairing, 2 turtles together as opposed to having all 4 in your collection. They still look really good. You don't have to have all 4 turtles in order to get a really cool looking display. Maybe you only care for, Leonardo and Raphael, right? Who knows? These guys go head to head and butt heads all the time, let's be honest. So together, it's just like the personality just oozes out of them. But I want to hear from you guys. Should I buy the Master Splinter? Should I buy some foot soldiers? Should I buy a Shredder? Who is your favorite turtle, and will you buy this line, or are you skipping on it? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, everybody, and thanks for 500 subscribers. I'll catch you guys on the next video.